What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Detroit Lions video. Now, this weekend, the Detroit Lions are looking to get back to 500 with a 4-4 record as they travel to Minnesota to take on the 2-win Minnesota Vikings. Now, just like every game, just like every week, the Lions will need a game plan for this week. They need to know who to attack, how to attack them, and what they can take advantage of in order to put up points and stop the Minnesota Vikings from doing it to them. Now, in today's video, I will be going over the Detroit Lions game plan and what they should be looking for against this Minnesota team, and what they should be looking for if they want to go out and get a victory in Minnesota this weekend. Now, before we do get into the video, if you are new to the channel and are enjoying this Detroit Lions content, please consider liking the videos and subscribing to the channel. It only takes 2 seconds out of your day and it helps the channel out so much. So if you could just do that, take those 2 seconds it does take out of your day. It does help the channel and it does help me so much more than you could know. So if you could do that, take those 2 seconds, I'd be greatly appreciative for it. But with all that being said, let's get into talking about this Lions versus Vikings game plan and what the Lions should look to take advantage of when they travel to Minnesota. Now, the first thing that the Lions need to focus on, the first and major thing the Lions need to look at this week is how do they stop Dalvin Cook? How do they contain this man so that he does not have another performance like last weekend? Now, Dalvin Cook last week, if you are unfamiliar, went for over 223 yards and 4 touchdowns. He had over 67% of the Minnesota Vikings total yards in that game and scored every single touchdown for that team. So, in order for the Lions to beat Minnesota, in order for them to go in and have a good day defensively, they need to stop Dalvin Cook first and foremost. Now, the Minnesota Vikings only have 2 wins on the season, but in both of those wins, Dalvin Cook had a pretty good game. In their first win versus the Houston Texans, Dalvin Cook had 146 scrimmage yards and 2 touchdowns on the game. And in last week's victory against the Green Bay Packers, Dalvin Cook had a phenomenal day with 223 total scrimmage yards and 4 total touchdowns. I mentioned in yesterday's video that this Vikings offense goes as far as Dalvin Cook can take them. If Dalvin Cook is having a good day, expect this Minnesota Vikings team to be trouble. But if the Lions can contain Dalvin Cook, keep him, kind of contained, don't let him get out in open space, don't let him get in one-on-ones, don't let him break off some tackles, then, if they can contain Dalvin Cook, then this Vikings offense is very, very lackluster and very, just non-threatening as a whole. So looking at, what Dalvin Cook did last week and looking at the performance the Vikings put up with those with Dalvin Cook, I mean, the Lions first and foremost, their first and major problem, their first thing and the thing that they should look at the most this week on the defensive side of the ball is stopping Dalvin Cook because he is their engine. He is the heart and soul of that offense. If he is having a good day, if he is playing well, then the Vikings are a threat any given Sunday. But if Dalvin Cook isn't playing well, if Dalvin Cook, is having kind of one of those off days, then the Minnesota Vikings offense collapses. It doesn't play very well. It doesn't put up points. It doesn't sustain drives. And, I believe he's missed a couple of games. He's missed a little bit of time this season. And, when that does happen, the Vikings offense looks like one of the worst in the NFL when he is not available or when he's not playing well. The big thing that I think the Lions need to focus on from the offensive side of the ball is attacking the Minnesota Vikings secondary, which is something that I don't really feel comfortable saying because I feel like that's not the case very often. But this season, the Minnesota Vikings secondary, and in particular, their top 4 cornerbacks have been very, very suspect and very, up and down throughout the first half of the season. Now, if you look at their top 4 cornerbacks, starting with Jeff Gladney is allowing a 71.4% completion percentage on the season. He's allowed 398 yards through the air, and he has given up 5 touchdowns. Cameron Dantzler has allowed a 72.5% completion percentage for 347 yards and 4 touchdowns in only 5 games. Now, he will not be playing this weekend. He had a very severe neck injury. It was, pretty gruesome. It's unfortunate to see. I hope he gets better. I hope he, can return to play at some point. If not this season, then definitely next season. It's unfortunate that he did get hurt, but he is not going to be playing because he had a very, very bad injury. And unfortunately, it looks like he will be out and will be missing quite a bit of time this season. season, if not the remainder of the season. You know, with Cameron Dancer being out, that's obviously big. He was one of their top cornerbacks. You know, Holton Hall has played the third most snaps out of their cornerbacks. He's allowed a 66.7% completion percentage, which is a little better than the other two. He has only allowed 250 yards and 2 touchdowns, but again, it's only in 5 games. He's only played in 5 games. And their fourth cornerback, Mike Hughes, has allowed a 75% completion percentage, 157 yards through the year, and 1 touchdown. Again, but he's only played in 4 games. So if you look at the Minnesota Vikings cornerbacks, if you look at their secondary overall, they really haven't done that much. I mean, they're a pretty bad passing defense. I believe they've allowed like the 20-something, I believe they've allowed like top 10, or I believe they've allowed like they're in top 5 in, you know, allowed touchdowns and passing. You know, they've given up a lot of passing touchdowns. They've given up a lot of passing yards, and you can see why. I mean, Jeff Gladney, their first round pick, is struggling. Cameron Dancer, when he was out there, wasn't necessarily having the greatest year. You know, Holden Hill, I don't even know who that is, but he's not necessarily having a good year. Mike Hughes, not having a great year either. Obviously, their safeties in Harrison Smith and Anthony Harris are very talented. They're very good safeties. They are veteran guys that, you know, are still very good in the secondary. But, you know, attacking these cornerbacks is going to be big. Attacking Jeff Gladney is going to be huge. You know, attacking Holden Hill and Mike Hughes is going to be really, really big. And if there's safety help over the top, maybe don't throw a deep ball. But if you see single coverage with Marvin Hall or with, you know, Marvin Jones or even Quintez Cephas if he's playing this weekend or anybody else, you know, you got to test these cornerbacks. These are young, inexperienced cornerbacks that are, you know, struggling in their first half of the season. You know, attacking the Minnesota Vikings cornerbacks this week, especially with their youth and inexperience, is going to be big for the Detroit Lions. Matt Stafford is an experienced veteran cornerback. Marvin Jones is an experienced veteran wide receiver. Marvin Hall can say the same. Danny Amendola can say the same. I mean, all of these guys are really, really experienced on the Lions offense, and the Minnesota Vikings defense has a lot of inexperience. They've relied a lot on rookies this season. They've relied on a lot of young players playing well for them, and unfortunately, based on the record and the stats, it really hasn't worked out for them. You know, in a couple of years, it might look a lot better. In a couple of years, that might be a defense that we really don't want to face. But this year, that is not the case. This year, the Vikings defense is sloppy. It's not very good. It's giving up a lot of points and a lot of yards. And even last weekend in a victory where they held the Packers to 22 points, they still allowed over 400 yards and 3 touchdowns. 3 touchdowns in the air, 400 yards on the game. Like, this Minnesota Vikings defense is not a very good one. And I mentioned all the stats that they'd given up. None of those 4 cornerbacks have an interception this season. I believe Harrison Smith is, the only Viking with an interception this season. I could be mistaken, but they don't have a lot of turnovers. They don't have a lot of picks. None of those 4 cornerbacks have an interception on the season, but they've given up combined. I mean, they've given up over 12 touchdowns on the season. So, attacking the secondary is going to be really big for the Detroit Lions. And I think that, with Marvin Jones' contested catchability, with the Lions having veteran, experienced players on that offense, and the Vikings having relatively inexperienced players in that secondary, I think that is something the Lions need to look to. That is going to be a huge advantage for them this weekend. And then the last key to this game is going to be maintaining drives for the Detroit Lions. The biggest thing for this game is the Lions offense needs to stay on the field. They cannot afford to go 3 and out. They cannot afford to be on the field as little as they were last weekend, because we saw what happened to our defense when that does happen, and we saw how the game can flip on its head, and we saw how quickly this defense can go from playing great to being very, very poor in just a couple of drives, because the offense cannot sustain theirs and the offense cannot stay on the field. Last week, the Lions offense couldn't stay on the field. They had a lot of 3 and outs. They had a lot of short drives. They even had a couple turnovers, and just like the offense could not stay on the field. The defense played very well and they got that offense on the field, but if the offense can't stay there, the defense can't do their job for 60 minutes if the offense does not help. The defense cannot do their job if they're on the field for 2/3 of the football game, and that was the big thing last week, is the offense could not stay out there. They kept having very lackluster drives. Even when they did have successful drives, they were very quick. They were 2-3 plays and they scored a touchdown and they got off the field. The defense was right back on. I mean, if we sustain drives, if we control time of possession, and we don't make that defense play 40 minutes of the 60 minutes that are in a football game, this defense will continue to play fast. They will continue to play aggressive. Last week was not necessarily an outlier from a playing standpoint. A statistical standpoint, yes, they gave up more yards last week than they were accustomed to the past couple, but looking at how they played played. The defense came out and played very fast and very aggressive last weekend, and it worked for the first half until they got tired and until they started to lose some of that momentum because the fatigue began to set in. If the Lions control time of possession, if they control the clock, if the defense is out there for 30 minutes instead of 40, if they get an extra 10 minutes of break throughout the game, then they will continue to play aggressive. They will continue to fly around and play fast and play aggressive and get turnovers and play like they were playing in the first half and the first quarter. And they will continue to play fast and aggressive like we saw early in quarters in the Colts game. You know, the Lions offense needs to complement the defense. The defense so far after the bye week has really been the strength. I mean, they played phenomenally against Jacksonville. They made their plays against the Atlanta Falcons when they needed to. And even last week, they came out with a good game plan and started the game so hot that, you know, they really should have been the reason we did win that football game if the offense was even average. So, I mean, this week, the big thing for the Lions offense should be sustaining drives and putting up points. Like, obviously that seems simple, right? But big thing for the Detroit Lions this week is going to be maintaining possession and controlling time of possession. They're going to need to control the clock, because if that defense gets even that extra 10 minutes of break in a game, they're going to be able to continue to play fast. They're going to be able to continue to play as aggressively as they have been, and you're going to see the play increase. You're going to see them get better as the quarters go on, not worse. You're going to see them continue to play with that aggression and that speed, instead of seeing them kind of drop off halfway through the second quarter, halfway through the third quarter, and you're going to be able to see them continue to maintain that level of play. And when they can continue to, you know, keep that aggression, when they can continue to play fast and play aggressive, you're going to see a Detroit Lions defense that is going to be able to shut down Dalvin Cook. You're going to be able to see a Lions defense that will be aggressive and attack Dalvin Cook and not let him get in open space. And if the Lions offense can maintain drives this week and keep that defense, just give them that extra rest that they need, then this will be an easy victory. The Lions should win this game. The Lions are the better football team, and if they can do these three things, if they can shut down Dalvin Cook or at least slow him enough to make it so he doesn't have a great day, if they can attack these cornerbacks and just maintain drives and maintain possession, they will win this football game. They don't need to do anything flashy. They don't need to put up 30, 40 points this week. They don't need to rely on some fluky things like Todd Gurley falling in the end zone. If they stick to this, if they maintain the clock, if they attack the cornerbacks, and if they can slow Dalvin Cook early in the football game, this game should be in the bag, and this should be a very, very convincing victory by the Detroit Lions. Now, once again, this is football, and every given Sunday, anything can happen, so I'm not, going to guarantee a victory. But looking at what the Vikings have done on the season and looking at how the Lions can attack this team, they should be able to just have a good victory. They should be able to have a dominant win, a convincing victory. Probably not as convincing as Jacksonville, but it should still be a 10, 14-point game. It should still be a very convincing victory for the Lions this week. And, again, we're playing away, and the Lions always seem to play better on the road. So, with all that being said, though, that is all I got for you guys right now. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Have an absolutely fantastic rest of your day. If there is Lions news before tomorrow, then I will obviously make a video letting every single person know. But until then, that is all I got for you guys right now. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I will see you all tomorrow with more Lions content. Bye, guys.